Will Davante Adams be traded? It doesn't sound like the Raiders want to send him packing anytime soon. The Niners are taking the same stance as Brandon Aiyuk officially requests a trade. So we still have a lot to talk about in terms of Garrett Wilson impact if Davante Adams was traded. Are we even concerned about that? Is this report that the Raiders don't want to trade him, don't plan to trade him? Is that making us feel like we have nothing to worry about when it comes to drafting Garrett Wilson? I think more important than anything, you might see a lot of channels out there and creators talk about the direct situation with both of these guys. We're here to talk about not only Davante Adams, not only Brandon Aiyuk, but all of the surrounding pieces. Not just where they go, but where they leave from. Where they, if Adams goes to the Jets, that affects even Breece Hall to some degree. We're going to talk about all of that, the likelihood that a trade gets made or doesn't get made between both these situations. We got Ricky Pearsall maybe banged up right now. We've got a few other factors to consider. We've got other news. We're taking phone calls. The Fantasy Football Show, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show.
Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
We are here to discuss the two evolving situations that are escalating, de-escalating at different temperatures every single time news breaks or we go live. And let's start with Davante Adams. Davante Adams, tons of rumors right now, some sparked by the mere comments of Aaron Rodgers walking on a golf course when interviewed, and he says, "I love Davante Adams. I can't wait to play with him again. I can't wait to play with him again." A little bit of a pause. And knowing that Aaron Rodgers has maybe 1 to 2 years left, that means maybe he wants to get this done now. We've heard Adams from his own mouth on the K Adams show, Up and Adams, say that Aaron Rodgers is constantly in his ear. So we know this is something being pressured by quarterback. New York Jet QB wants it to happen. Joe Burrow wants Jamar Chase. He gets Jamar Chase. CJ Stroud wants Tank Dell. He gets Tank Dell. A.J. Brown to the Eagles. This is the way it works. Troy Franklin, he's playing with Bo Nix in Denver. This is a very, very usual formula in today's NFL. Get the wide receiver of choice, preferably the one from college, to play with young evolving quarterback. And even Aaron Rodgers, veteran, saying, I want me a little Davante Adams action. Now, this report here, ESPN's Adam Schefter, let's take this with a grain of salt, because everything Adam Schefter reports one moment, and I'm not saying he's not one of the most, if not the most dialed in guy, him and Rappaport are dialed in. We're going to them for the news. We'll continue to go to them for the news. I don't want anybody to think that I'm sitting here being overly critical of Schefter and Rappaport, because they have important jobs and they provide us with a lot of good intel, but they're not bulletproof. So when Schefter says something like the Raiders don't plan on trading Davante Adams, we don't know how accurate that really is. We don't know how much of that's posturing. We don't know if this is something that is being worded or phrased wrong versus not going to happen. Well, let's see what happens when the Raiders are 1-4. Let's see what happens if the Raiders start 0-4, 0-3, and they realize they've got just a small amount of time left with Davante Adams. Just a small amount of time to relinquish his services to, in exchange, get something that helps his team in 2025. So regardless of what Schefter says, remember Schefter said there was no real entertaining any trade offers for the Niners, and then a report came out from Schefter that the Commanders and the Niners were working on a trade, and the Commanders backed out. Almost in the same couple week time frame we were talking about this, Schefter goes from no offers were ever truly entertained to the Commanders dropping out of a trade discussion. So I just want to pump the brakes on thinking we have a finality with any one of these situations because Schefter reported that a team's not interested in trading. Not to mention, think about it from your own perspective. If you're in the middle of a trade discussion, don't you think you're not going to really show your hand? Yeah, I'm really trying to trade him. I don't need to trade Brandon Aiyuk in fantasy football in my little league over here. I don't need to trade him. I'm trying to get him to pay more. What do you, I mean, you got to come with something strong. They want a first round pick. I'm not saying the Niners get it. The Niners may get a second and a defensive player. The Niners might get a second and a third, a second and a fourth. We don't know what the cost would be, but the offer the Niners can't refuse as of this moment is going to be a first round pick. And they don't have any reason to budge at all on that for a little while. So if they're saying Commanders want him, if JD5 is hounding the brass in Washington saying, get me Brandon Aiyuk and get me him now, right now, guess what the Niners are going to do? Let's tell them we want a first rounder, and that's all there is to it. Let's sit back and just wait and let this thing simmer for as long as possible. That's what I would do. That's probably what the Niners are going to do. The Niners aren't going to jump to the first offer. They're not going to make a trade today or tomorrow when they want to see what the market holds. Teams have been calling. And let's go on over to that. First of all, the Raiders are saying they're not trading Davante Adams. This is in the same context, although no one's coming and knocking for a 31-year-old wide receiver but Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. So this is a very, very different situation. The Raiders won't have the luxury of saying, well, let's just play everybody against each other. It's going to come down to what does the Raiders' 2024 season look like? At what point does it feel like we're pulling the plug? And they have Minshew in AOC. There's no future for Adams in LV, even though he wants to believe in Pierce. This team is not much different than last year when he got rocked so many times by hospital balls. You have F-bomb after F-bomb of this guy saying he's got to get out of LV. He's got to get out of LV. That Jimmy Garoppolo can't throw a freaking lame duck. That Jimmy Garoppolo is the worst quarterback he's ever seen in his life. And if Jimmy's in the lineup, he's gone. Just like I told everybody, Jimmy Garoppolo was not a top 32 quarterback, didn't deserve to start in the NFL, and people tried to roast me? Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. We nailed that one to a T, just like we've nailed both these situations so far. Adams will set him over here for a second. Caleb signed his contract. We'll get to that in 1 second, but let's discuss the 49ers situation right now, most of all. The 49ers, according to, actually, let's put this report up first. This is the report that said, despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk is respectfully asking for a trade. But according to Schefter, they've been constantly trying to work a deal out. That's what I'm saying. None of this lines up. None of this makes total sense. And it feels like Schefter, as much as we still trust him, we have to. He's the source. He's the guy that gets actual sent leaked information by agents. And we're going to continue to roll with Schefter. We have to. We have no choice. Him and Rappaport are the two guys. But you have to back off a little bit and say to yourself, wait a minute. We're hearing one thing 1 minute. The next minute, we're hearing that the Niners have not been willing to engage in negotiations since May. Yet we're hearing that what? There's some sort of, we've been working on a contract. It's Aiyuk's problem. The Niner fan base is irate, going nuts on Aiyuk, saying, Aiyuk's a diva. They've presented him many offers. They could have signed him for this. They could have signed him for that. I don't know that I believe any of it. And Bruce coming in with a super chat, $50 hauler bold prediction. We've been waiting for this one. Dalton Schultz will outperform the Texans wide receivers in 2024. Now, Bruce, can I get a confirmation? Do you mean, like you said once, I believe you said it two different ways. Do you believe that he will be higher ranked positionally than all of the wide receivers, or do you think he scores more fantasy points than all of the wide receivers? Both are very bold. One is more bold than the other. But if you say Schultz is a higher scoring positionally, that's still good enough to probably win. But I want to hear from you. Bruce dropping a $50 mother freaking hauler.
$50. Give me $50 holler. Get by the brother, Smitty. Give me $50. Oh, yeah.
Okay, Bruce, today is 6:16. Or 6:16. This is Bruce. Bruce says Schultz outperforms Texans wide receivers. But we just need clarification on whether that means they actually outscore him, Bruce, or if you're just saying positionally. Again, both of them are extremely bold. But we do need clarification so that we can judge your prediction accordingly. Bruce, appreciate your $50 bold prediction, $50 hauler. And ain't that Devin says big Washington, big Aiyuk, big JD5 game, AP to the moon. Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you. Adam Peters to the moon. If you guys don't know who AP is, AP has been doing amazing work already. We knew he was going to be one of the best GMs in the entire National Football League immediately, and he has. He's put together an absolute Houston Texans 2023 type of team here in 2024. You think that's crazy? That's okay. I could care less because I heard that when I said the Bengals were going to the Super Bowl. I said the Bengals were winning the division. The year they won their division, and people laughed me out of rooms. I went on what do you call it? I don't even go on this thing anymore. What's that app called? Clubhouse. I went on Clubhouse into a betting room, and there was about 50 people in there, and they're hardcore NFL bettors. And I raised my hand and I said, hey, just got a question for you guys. Why don't you incorporate fantasy more into your predictions? Because fantasy's predictive, whereas you guys are reactive. You're going off what a team did yesterday. I'm going off what I think a team will do tomorrow. And they're that's a pretty good point. And I'm like, you need to incorporate, fantasy takes more and fantasy analysis into your betting. And they said, give us an example. I go, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win the division. They started laughing. Who is it that made this bet? One of the guys in there. The only guy in there, a room of I think it was 40 or 50 people. One guy took my advice, and he put money on the Bengals to show up in the Super Bowl. Win, I think, to show. The Bengals to win the division, and I think he put the Bengals to show in the Super Bowl. He made bank, and he came back onto this show and said, thank you, Smitty. And I went back into that clubhouse room a year later, and all of a sudden, they're like, there he is, Smitty. Good God, Smitty. Oh, my God, I wish I would have banked on that. Can't believe you said that. And this guy watches religiously. Whenever I call this story out, he always calls in immediately. He's always there. I forget who it is, though. I always forget what YouTube handle he is. But call in. Let's discuss it. So I don't want to hear, we said the Texans were going to ball. Why? Caserio. They have one of the better GMs in the National Football League. We loved the head coach. We loved everything about this Texans team, and they were going to ball. People laughed at us. We said this about the Lions 2 years prior, that they were coming for everybody. Might take a year, and it did, but they came for everybody. They came for blood. We said this about the Green Bay Packers last year with Jordan Love. Oh, Jordan Love, Smitty, I'm going to drop Jordan Love midway through the season. Boy, did you mess up on Jordan Love. You gave up too early. You giving up Gary. You giving up Gary. I don't think so. Not on my watch. We're not giving up on anybody like Jordan Love, who's coming for everybody now. How you feel about Jordan Love now, all you dropping Donnies? Kilpatrick, Dynasty, Superflex, Hurts, JD5, Penix Jr., Gibbs, A-Chain, Laporta, London, Pittman, Ridley, Watson, trash or fire. I'm going to say is in Superflex, you got JD5 and Hurts and Penix Jr. You can't be trash on that alone. Gibbs and A-Chan to the moon. Laporta to the moon. London, Pittman, Ridley to the moon. This isn't even remotely close to trash. I burn my fingers touching the screen right now. That is an absolute Smitty approved team. Nice job, Kilpatrick. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Ain't That Devin for the super chat. Thank you both. Thank you, Brucey. I don't know if did Bruce clarify? Outscores the fantasy outscores them fantasy-wise only 1 tight end compared to 3 wide receiver mouths to feed. I don't know that clarifies it for me, Bruce. It's a little gibberish right there. You might need to call in and clarify. Let's get back over to the news real quick. So the latest report we have is that the Niners are not interested in trading. And another report, I can even put it on screen, is suggesting that they're turning down all of the offers. Every offer that's coming their way, they're literally not interested in trading Brandon Aiyuk. Let me see if I can pull that and put that up on the screen. I think I have that right here. Here it is. That's Davante Adams. Davante Adams. Let me see if I can. I want to say it is right here. Oh, here's another one I want to put up on screen. This is also fueling a lot of the fire on the Davante Adams front. This is I think this is an ESPN report. So I'll throw this up and we'll talk about this while I find the Aiyuk piece. But this is, I think this is ESPN. ESPN, I think Davante Adams plays for the Jets, says Dan Orlovsky. So Dan O is talking about Adams eventually being a New York Jet. Then Boomer Esiason said yesterday. Boomer Esiason says Davante Adams will be a New York Jet. Aaron Rodgers is saying, I can't wait to play with Davante Adams again. So it feels like Aaron Rodgers, who's controlling this team, he controls the team. Aaron Rodgers is going to probably get what he wants as long as the Raiders feel hopeless and out of contention, which they will. There's no way they're not going to. It's just a matter of at what point. So if Davante Adams moves into a Jets uniform week 5, what's it do for Garrett Wilson? So that's what I want to have a conversation about on the phone line when you dial in a minute. What do we do? Do we make a preemptive non-move? Do we make a preemptive ranking adjustment? Do we avoid Garrett Wilson in a few more drafts? Not all drafts, but do we? Or do we say, screw it, we can't be making assumptions on some what-if factor that requires a lot of moving parts and different people to want to come together and make a trade. We can't avoid Garrett Wilson breakout season because Dan Orlovsky and freaking Boomer Esiason say that Adams is going to be a New York Jet. These are instincts they have. These are predictions, projections. These are not factual based. And Aaron Rodgers walking across a golf course, as much as I love Aaron Rodgers, doesn't necessarily have control either. So in the chat, you can drop your prediction as to Adams going or not going to the New York Jets. I would be glad to throw whatever you put up on screen. So drop that. I'm trying to find this other thing on Brandon Aiyuk. While I look for that, I'm going to put this up. Caleb Williams getting his deal signed. Let's talk about this real quick. Bears have signed Caleb Williams to a 4-year, $39 million deal. He was waiting and holding out to get fully guaranteed money and get the certain right exact contract, which you could understand. I'm not going to actually rip him for this one. I'm going to say that, look, these players are getting paid so much more in college now. They're not pressured to make moves and get contracts signed. They can hold out and wait. They could say, look, you're screwing yourself. I'm starting for your team. You better come around and bring me the money. The only thing I'll say negative on Caleb with this is that it is fitting a theme of very, very much, the diva mentality that we've all come to expect from him. He very much is all about himself. He's starting an investment firm. What does he know about it? How does he start an investment firm? He's just getting going. Like maybe a couple years into his career, we could say, he brings that brand awareness, and he's been dealing with his brand for a couple years now. This guy's coming out of college, cries in his mama's lap, and he's creating an investment firm. He wants ownership of the team that drafts him, the Bears. That's one request. He's going to beat Tom Brady with Super Bowl rings already. And he's got this long laundry list of things that just put him in the weirdest light. The expectation, he's putting the cart so far in front of the horses. He's trying to drive this thing backwards. And I feel like he's setting himself up for a lot of embarrassment and disappointment if he hits any roadblocks. So, wild to me. Wild to me. Okay, we'll put this right here. See if I can find that Aiyuk piece here shortly. I know I screen grabbed it, and I was going to put it up on the screen. 49ers have requested, or Aiyuk has requested a trade. Ricky Pearsall. I got the Ricky Pearsall news. Tua Tagovailoa. Here's another piece on Tua, I think. No, is this it? No, that's not it. That's a different one. This one right here is from Ricky Pearsall. No, this is it. No, that's not it. Here's the Ricky Pearsall news. Somehow I deleted something when I was moving stuff around. Hearing an injury that landed wide receiver Ricky Pearsall on the NFI is not considered serious. The non-football injury list. We'll see what happens with this one. This is kind of one of those situations where it's like, damn, bad timing, or is this the Niners making strategic moves to make it look like, oh, we do need Brandon Aiyuk. All of a sudden, we're not interested in trading him. Our rookie's already banged up. I don't know if that's what's going on here. I don't know what's going on. But what I do know is it's not considered to be serious. Ricky Pearsall's special. Ricky Pearsall was a first rounder. So talking about degrees of separation from the actual trade, if a trade was to go down, the impacted players, obviously Aiyuk, JD5, Dotson, and McLaurin, right? If Aiyuk is in Washington, and I think Aiyuk becomes the number one wide receiver there very, very easily, there's also the Ricky Pearsall experiment that is going to go through the roof. The shares of Ricky Pearsall go to the roof. The value would be absolutely on the rise for Ricky Pearsall, on the rise for JD5, on the rise for Brandon Aiyuk. On the rise for mother freaking Deebo Samuel, probably the biggest benefactor of a Aiyuk trade out of San Francisco. Deebo, who is a moon man extraordinaire already.
The moon men dropping loads in outer space.
I mean, just glory. Glory is what would happen to Deebo. What would happen to Ricky Pearsall? What would happen to JD5? I would say Aiyuk is a tough case to crack because he's now injury prone a little more than normal just by sitting out. Like, what's his next move? Is his next move not to report? If he doesn't report, his injury risk goes through the roof. Even if he gets traded 2.5 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, his injury risk is through the roof. So that doesn't change because he puts on a Washington Commanders cap and walks right over to the other side of the fence. Doesn't change anything. He's still injury risk. The three biggest benefactors of an Aiyuk trade to Washington: JD5, Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall, in that order. Love what it does for Deebo, but what I just said it does for Deebo, it does for JD5, probably times 5. JD5's a 5. He probably becomes a 25. 5 times 5 is 25. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about.
It was brought to my attention. I might be talking a little bit too much about the same topic lately. I've been doing a lot of JD5 posts, and I know people are saying, Smitty, I wish you could create more diverse content. You've been, 4 of your last 10 posts have been about JD5, and I just said, I don't know. I guess my reaction wasn't really the best. So I want to first acknowledge that. And just say, no one's perfect. I'm always trying to get better. And I do think you won't hear any more. I'm gonna stay away from JD5 content. Never. Come on, bro. Get it.
There are 2 5s? JD5, AR5? There can't be.
Oh no. They're gonna cross streams.
This report, we got 2 super chats here. We got to address. One's from Sean. $20 holler Sean is what we call him.
Alert. Super chat alert.
$20 super chat.
alert. Super chat alert.
$20 holler, Sean. Hey, Smitty, 10-team Dynasty half PPR review. Stroud, JD5. I don't see Superflex, so Stroud, JD5. You got a lot of power there. Fields. Breece Hall, Trey Benson, Jalen Wright. Look, kind of risky running back crew, but I like it. You know, especially you're loaded everywhere else. McBride and Musgrave at tight end, love that. Going back up at the wide receiver, you got London, DK, Mike Evans, very very good. Pearsall, Jalen Reed. I like this, Jaden Reed. I like this a lot. This is a good squad. This is a really good squad. You might want to try and consider, you know, going balls to the wall at QB if you can move one, and I'd probably keep, I don't know, you could play it safe and go Stroud, but at some point you could maybe upgrade your running back 2 and use Trey Benson in the flex at some point if he becomes relevant. But that's like the only thing I'd toy around with, you know. You've got Mike Evans and you got an extra quarterback. Not bad. The depth is good. Don't make any stupid moves. Keep it. The team is very, very good, but those are something that would be on my mind. My door would be open at least to those types of ideas. Bruce, clarification is bull prediction points because they're 2 different positions. Check his comment. Bruce is putting it on the board. So points because they're 2 different positions. Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you. Thank you, Superfish, for dropping the super chat. Thank you, Sean, for dropping that $20 holler. Sean to the mother freaking moon on that one. Shawnee boy, you've outdone yourself, Sean. Here's that Aiyuk news right here. Actually, this is coming from our boy Raj. I'd like to pull Raj's stuff because he's going to be, I don't mean this in a negative way, but he's going to be very biased toward being positive to the Niners because he's a Niner page. So if Raj says something that, you know, you know that there's truth to the negative part or whatever. So it says right here, this is a tweet that he's clipping, so it's not from him, but it's on his page. I'm told within the last couple of weeks, the Patriots reached out to the 49ers inquiring about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, and again, we're told that the talented wide receiver was not being traded at this time per source. There's also several reports saying that they're fielding calls, taking calls, and telling everybody they're not interested in trading Brandon Aiyuk. So, again, the consensus here from everything I'm gathering is that the Raiders don't want to trade Adams right now, regardless of what verbiage is used. The Niners don't want to trade Brandon Aiyuk right now because I think they're waiting for an offer they can't refuse. They're not trading him for a second rounder. They're not. If nobody, and when I say nobody, I mean the Commanders, really. If the Commanders aren't willing to pay a first-round pick, at least right now, the Niners are going to go like this. We're just going to sit back and wait. We're not trading him at all. We're not trading him at all whatsoever unless you give us an offer we can't refuse. A second rounder isn't that. So the Niners have a bunch of leverage on the trade partners on top of Aiyuk, but all it takes is one team to say, you know what? Pay it. JD5 wants it. Stroud got his way. Burrow got his way. This is the way. This is the way. Give JD5 what he wants. Surrender the first rounder. Or you give a second later if the Niners start deciding we do want to make some sort of attempt or move, because it is what it is. So we'll have to we'll have to see where this goes from there. I think per source I've been told the 49ers have no, I think this might be it. Other teams have reached out and spoke to the 49ers and have been told that the 49ers have no intention of trading disgruntled wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, who officially has requested a trade. Niners open training camp next week. This is another report on it, just kind of clarifying. As far as this other news that I've got on screen before we open the phone lines, let me minimize all this and see if I can find it, because I get carried away, I get caught up, I get sidetracked, and then I forget something's out there. We've got the Davante Adams news. I talked about that already. We got Caleb getting his deal done. Odunze signed as well. I think I've got that somewhere on here. I don't know where it is. That's pretty much it right now. This Tyreek Hill news right here. This is Ian Rappaport reporting that that, and Tyreek Hill's vocal. He's been in the news a lot lately. He said Baker Mayfield is a top 5 QB. Then when he was pressed on it, he said he just likes to troll people and that he was just trying to get a reaction out of everybody. So honestly, you don't even know what Tyreek Hill is even saying. He just runs his mouth about anything at any time, and there's no confidence level you can apply to anything Tyreek Hill says. Remember when he said that Tua throws a better football than Patrick Mahomes, which is absolute ridiculousness. So I wouldn't even, anything he says doesn't mean anything. Of course he wants him to get paid. That's his guy. What will Tua get? Will Tua get a Goff money? Will Tua get more than Goff money? Will this team even extend him? I don't know. Tough to say what's going to truly happen to the Tua Tagovailoa situation. What's going to happen with Dak Prescott? I lean about 55% likely that Dak gets an extension and that Dallas is like making us go, why didn't they just do it earlier? Like, does it not feel like something we're going to say about Jerry? Like, Jerry's such a oddball waiting this long, and it cost him money. He wants to save money. He wants to scrimp, and then he waits. But the further we get into August, the more likely that 55% or even if it's 60 goes to 50-50 and then maybe below. And CeeDee Lamb, there's no way they don't ink CeeDee Lamb. But what in the hell are they doing? How long is it going to take? He's going to go up in value. Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb are going to break the wide receiver market again. It's going to be wild. Where does Aiyuk land? There's really only one spot that makes sense in terms of salary cap and cost of entry and a specific reason driving it all. JD5, Washington. I think New England, they've inquired. The Baltimore Ravens are interesting. The Steelers probably won't want to pay it, but they want them. The Buffalo Bills seem oblivious to even needing anything. And I do love Keon Coleman, though. The Cardinals, the idea that they might want to bring in a guy like Aiyuk is still out there. The Chargers, give me a break. Does anybody really believe the Chargers who said, hey, Keenan Allen, I know you just had a top 3 wide receiver season. Take a pay cut or take a hike. Take a pay cut, take a hike. Pick one. Pick one, Keenan. Oh, let's go pay Aiyuk $30 million plus a year. Let's give him $80 million guaranteed. I don't think so. That's not what happens. This is there's no one player. Their top running back just coming off an Achilles injury. No running back in the history of the NFL has ever been a top 10 running back after an Achilles injury. No Achilles recovered running back has ever been a top 10 running back. Ever. This is the all ACL and all Achilles team. This is the team that's going to bring in Aiyuk? I don't think so. San Francisco on the very end is probably the most likely team to have him, which means he'll be on his 5th-year option, banking on himself, which I don't blame him. I don't blame him one single bit. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Sick Nasty dropping a super chat like a monster. Appreciate Sick Nasty doing his thing right here. Moderator in chief as well. I got Travis Rowe probably in the building here. I haven't looked around. I've got probably Blackbeard in the building. Probably Space Ricky. Probably the whole clan is in here. Appreciate you guys. Sick Nasty says, would you trade McBride? Would you traded McBride for early first 1 QB? No. I want McBride. 1 QB, early first rounder, rather have McBride. Unless it's the 1.1 or maybe the 1.2, but if you don't know if it could be 1.5, 1.6, if it's got the possibility of floating anywhere in like even the 3 to 7, McBride's the guy. I couldn't do it. I'd be tempted to make a more complicated trade to make myself lay off some of that risk, but yeah, I don't know. Arrogance, what's up? You're live.
What up, Smitty? Hey, man, I got a concern to bring forward, all right? I know we love McBride. I know we love Marvin Harrison Jr. But are we really trusting Kyler Murray to get it done?
Why wouldn't you?
I just don't really feel like I've ever seen him as, like, the best passer due to his stature and his past performance, just based off his prior years.
You do know that the prior year, the year he tore his ACL, that he was on pace to be at the QB5, right? You probably don't know that based on the comment, but he has absolutely proved it. He's absolutely proved to be a top 5 QB.
You got the Call of Duty clause, my man. That's my word.
You what?
I put all my faith in him 2 years in a row, and then she out to bed. You know, you got that Call of Duty clause going on.
Well, you can't put faith in him in the year he's coming back from an ACL tear and blame that on him. If you put your faith in him last year, there's no reason to draft him last year.
The year prior as well.
But the year prior, 1 year, he tore his ACL. Like, you can't really blame the guy. Not to mention he looked really good last year at times, and he had no weapons. He's very capable. He's as capable of anybody of throwing 300 yards, bro. This is not a guy that throws 200 yards. He's never going to be a 300-yard passer. Can't support the air it out system. He 100% can. He's thrown 100-yard or 300-yard games before. This is a capable 300-yard passing quarterback. His stature doesn't concern me. He scrambles outside the pocket. He throws great on the run. He throws the best when he's got a receiver that can catch the football when he's outside the pocket. He is absolutely on his game. And he's got probably one of the best up-and-coming receivers to do just that. This is like a DeAndre Hopkins meets A.J. Green meets a whole bunch of other wide receivers and Marvin Harrison Jr. And Kyler Murray absolutely can deliver. Now, do you have to draft Kyler Murray? You don't have to. And could he get hurt again? Sure. I'd say, are there safer QBs? Maybe. Stroud safer? Probably, bro. Is Dak safer? Probably. But does Kyler have as much upside as both those guys? The answer is yes. The answer is an astounding yes. Is he safer, though? No.
I just don't see him much different than Lamar Jackson, personally,
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say I don't agree with that because Lamar is not a good thrower. Lamar is a mediocre to good passer, never produces top 30 wide receivers, has never. I don't think he's ever produced a top 25 wide receiver. So Lamar is very one-dimensional. Kyler can throw a 400-yard game and 3 passing touchdowns. Kyler's capable of doing it through the air. Lamar's not consistently. So, and especially this year when Lamar's getting handed, Derrick Henry's probably going to throw even less. So Kyler has been top 5 before, bro. I think you're misremembering because of the trauma. But you take his injured season before he tore his ACL, extrapolate that across a 17-game season, he was number 5 in fantasy football QB scoring.
Yeah, I guess I can get behind that.
Yeah, but you don't have to take him in every draft either, bro. Don't double dip. Diversify your portfolio.
It's just Marvin Harrison Jr. and McBride.
Well, I don't think I would stray away from anybody can get injured, and I don't sense that Kyler, given that he escaped last year without any sort of setback, played well. He's half a year removed playing wise on that. He's fine, bro. He's fine. Kyler's going to be very, very solid, and the opened up offense is going to make him be even more impressive. All right, hang tight, Arrogance. Bruce, you're live. What's going on, my man, Brucey?
Hey, Smitty, I got a question. Who do you think is more likely to get traded, Aiyuk or Adams?
That's a good question. Before I answer that question, so just to clarify, you're going off Schultz outscoring in fantasy football points all 3 of the wide receivers. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's ballsy, bro. I'll tell you what, the nice thing about the bold predictions, even if you don't land it, if it's even remotely close, people are still going to vote for you to be in the mix. So you don't have to necessarily land it. It's up to everybody's, it's actually up to me to probably put the top 5, 6, 7 of them, and I'll keep everyone's ideas in consideration. I'll put 5, 6, 7 of them up for a vote. And if let's say Schultz is 10 points away from the top wide receiver in Houston. The thing about Shanahan is this is where I stop, walking on the path of this Aiyuk situation. I've called it to a T. Everything I've said has come true on the Brandon Aiyuk front, except for the order of the trade request, which definitely came through. And I still sense that there was a a leak of a trade request when that first one happened, but that I can never prove that. But I would say that I've called this to a T. But this is where I'm walking down this road confident as can be, and all of a sudden I stop like there's lava in front of me. And everyone's like, Smitty, continue on the road. What happens with Brandon Aiyuk? Tell us the conclusion, Smitty. You've been right the entire way. And I'm looking at this lava in front of me, this river of lava that I can't get past. That river of lava is Kyle Shanahan. And the truth is, logic does not play into this. He's such an arrogant narcissist that you don't know what his next move's going to be because he's selfish with it. And it's not all up to him, but a lot of it is. John and him make, it seems like, decisions together now. John used to let him do everything, and I think that's why I've liked John a little bit more over the last year and a half because John has taken control a little bit more and I believe he had a heavy hand in that Christian McCaffrey trade, to be honest. Both families are tied to the McCaffreys, the Shanahans and the Lynches, but, I truly believe Lynch had a big hand in that. I think that the logical move is to move both of them. Adams is a hard no right now. So let me answer it this way. Aiyuk is highly, highly more likely to get traded before the season begins. Once the season kicks off, if Aiyuk isn't traded yet, Adams becomes highly more likely to be traded because it's dependent on the Raiders crapping the bed really hard at the beginning of the year and the Jets saying, bring Adams, Red Rover, bring Adams right over. Raiders, you can't win. You start building for the future. You wait on Adams, you won't get anything for him. Right now, the Jets will be desperate because Aaron Rodgers will want it, and they'll give up the farm to get him, and you won't get even a quarter of that value in the 2025 offseason. So it's a no-brainer move for the Raiders mid-season or, early on, 3 weeks in, 1 month into football. So it's a tough question to answer. There really is like a shift in when the probabilities for each one change. So right now, Adams ain't getting traded. It's just not going to happen right now. The Raiders want to pretend they have a shot, and when they hit that heavy dose of reality and they realize that, look, Pierce, as much as he seems like a good player's coach, he diarrheaed the bed so hard in the NFL draft. He's still wearing it. That's how bad it is. You can't walk out of the draft with Davante Adams on a lifeline on his last year to year and a half, and you let Penix Jr. and Bo Nix both slip through your kung fu grip. McCarthy wouldn't even cut it. The fact that Pierce wasn't on the phone saying, I don't care, we're going and getting 6 or 7 or whatever to get Penix Jr. The fact that they even thought he'd fall shows incompetence. Because I told everyone he was worth the top 10 pick the entirety of the offseason through the thick and thin. Through the thick and thin. Even when people said, oh, Smitty, these people are over here reporting that you're wrong, that he won't even be a first rounder. Just wait and watch, is what I told everyone. So I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but the Raiders feel like a disaster. And I hate to say that. And part of me, it scares me because I got Brock Bowers investment here. I've got Zamir White investment. Not that those guys can't do well in a bad environment. I mean, look at how much work Chuba Hubbard got in Carolina last year. He wasn't efficient, but he was fed. So I'm still hopeful on Zamir. I am, but part of me is scared to death about those two predictions because my heart's telling me I want Zamir and Bowers to do great, but my brain's saying this is going to be a nothing burger season for the Raiders. We'll see. Maybe Minshew can move the ball enough to just lose a lot of games, but matriculate the football down the football field on regular occasion. I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Now I got one question on that. I didn't see the Kay Adams interview. Maybe you did. Did he say him and Aaron Rodgers were in like regular contact, like almost every day?
I mean, I don't know how I'll put it every day. I would just say that Adams says that they talk. They're good friends still, obviously, and that she said is Adams or is A-Rod constantly in your ear about playing in New York, and he's yeah. Right now I'm a Raider though. He is always in my ear though. And then there's the Boomer Esiason take and the Dan O take. Dan O says that, and so does Boomer Esiason, that this is going to happen, that Adams will be a Raider. And logically, it does make sense. Think about it. Like, again, I can't map this out any clearer. If the Raiders suck, they have an expiration date on Davante Adams. If they suck, why would you not get something? Especially when even 4 weeks in, when you're telegraphing that you need a lifeline. We're the Raiders. We suck. We need to get rid of Adams to the highest bidder. This is one of those situations where the housing market's so good, you could misprice your house and it still is a bidding war and it goes for well over the appraisal amount. You could, in a good housing market, could not understand your house is worth $300,000. You could list it for $200,000. It would sell for $400,000. You can't even screw up in a bad housing market selling your home. That is what it's going to be like, for not just because other teams will want him maybe at a desperation, type of move by the Raiders, but the Jets will say, we'll pay whatever it is. Our boy Aaron Rodgers told us to write a blank check. He wants him. You guys are losing. What do you need? It's gonna be a no-brainer situation for the Raiders, unless I'm wrong and they go 4-1. And, and it's kind of one of those miracle starts and we're like, wow. But they'll probably fall apart at the end. But if they start off really good, they have some propped up season, and they just do well for whatever reason. We're all holding our breath for it to fall apart, but they do well. That could delay it, and then it doesn't happen. But there's no way a team that's 0-4, 1-5, 2-6, 2-5, or 1-5, that has no momentum whatsoever, and they're changing things over to AOC. He can't even throw a touchdown in this offense. It's going to be a 200-yard game, no touchdowns. I don't know, bro. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
You want to know what Miss Robeson said?
What'd she say?
I said, I think so. She said, if you think so highly on Schultz, she said, put your money where your mouth is on him. I said, all right.
Woo! That's good. That's good. And on top of that, though, bro, you're going to be in the running even if you get close. If he's right there with Tank Dell or right there with Nico, you know what's going for you, bro, is all three of these wide receivers could eat into each other's production, and Schultz could somehow have 11, 12 touchdowns, and you're going to be a mad scientist behind this prediction, but we'll see. It is a wild one for sure, but it's very interesting. I would say Superfish is one of the more interesting ones up here. She said Jonnu Smith, top 5 tight end in fantasy, I believe. That one's wild too. You guys are going all out on the tight end predictions on the big board up there. I like it. Arrogance, what else you got? Hold on one second, Bruce. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, so if Aiyuk doesn't get traded, are we thinking that he's going to hold in, or he's going to ball out and try to get him a deal next year?
He can't afford. He's got to hold in. I mean, he'll hold in potentially, or just show up and say, you know what, I'm gonna be a man about this. I'm gonna lace my boots up. I'm gonna roll my sleeves up, even though they have neither in the NFL. And he's gonna go out there and try and ball the hell out. The only problem that we're going to have here is that he is the expendable player in terms of, getting all the work and involving him in, like, think about it. If you got an employee that you're about to let go and you're promoting another employee and you're giving another employee an extension in a contract or whatever, are you going to be like having those important meetings? And I'm not necessarily being serious about a meeting. I'm just giving you a work example. Like all the big conversations about the direction of the company and the business. Are you bringing in this guy that's leaving the next year as the sole contributor of those meetings or a big focal point? Like the way I look at it from the football perspective now, because I was talking about a business, Aiyuk is going to have to give way to some Ricky Pearsall action. And if Aiyuk was suffering from a lack of target syndrome over in San Francisco last year when he was wide receiver 14 and everybody wanted him to be top 5 because of efficiency and all these stats that they say Aiyuk was, hitting on, but he was only getting wide receiver 14 numbers. My concern is, does that number go down now because they drafted a first-round rookie wide receiver? That is a statement. That means something. And if he's the odd man out because they're not going to extend him, he's only going to get more expensive next season. So I just don't know that he's going to have as good a year as we want him to have to even shape his future the way he wants. So it's complicated. Now, Debo could get injured, knock on wood. Pearsall could get injured. He could just be so good that they're like, look, we're winning a championship. We keep throwing to this guy. And then they start talking about it, giving him his extension. Maybe even happens like they wait a little while and it happens. Who knows? But anything can happen. Anything could go down. Shanahan on defense. Not saying Vrabel was going to come, but everyone was talking about that situation, and it was like, Shanahan's not going to do it. Shanahan showed no interest in it. He shows no interest in any big defensive mind. He doesn't want to bring in a big-time coordinator of any kind because then he's on a hot seat the moment he has a bad year and someone looks at Vrabel defense and goes, that big boy over there, can we get him in as a head coach? And let's not bring Tom Brady in because Tom Brady knows more than Shanahan. He can't handle that. I don't know, bro. All I know is that Aiyuk can't afford. He doesn't have. The whole reason he's wanting to do all this is for money. He can't afford to get fined. He can't. He's playing on his fifth-year option, and he's going to bank on himself. But I will say this. If he comes out unscathed and he has a good year, he's going to cakewalk into a $30+ million a year deal because the market's going to soar. It's already soaring, but the moment Chase gets his $112 million, $115 million guaranteed dollars, $35 million a year, the moment Lamb Chops gets $116, $114 million guaranteed and $35 million annually a year, this market inches up even further. And Aiyuk is further from signing with the Niners, if that happens, but his fair market value next offseason goes through the roof. And the likelihood, the Niner fans always say, oh, we can franchise tag him. You don't know if you can franchise tag him. You got to worry about Brock Purdy. And are the Niners going to drag that out until August? You going to lock up all that money on Aiyuk, franchise tagging him? What if you can't trade him? Keep in mind, you franchise tag Aiyuk, even if the money is reasonable, let's even say. You franchise tag him if he still wants $32 million a year and he's not worth it. Guess what? No team, not one single team in the National Football League will trade for a franchised wide receiver that is not going to agree immediately behind closed doors in unison. Both are announced. The trade and new contract are announced at the same time in parallel. So if a team says, if the Niners go, we'll just franchise tag him, but he's not worth it to other teams to sign on a $32 million deal, that's what he wants, no team's going to trade for him. They're going to go, we're interested in Aiyuk. What's he want? $32 million? We're not going to do that. The last thing we're going to do is get a contract signed with him then. We're not doing it. Or they talk to Aiyuk. He's got permission to speak to these teams, and they start talking to him, and he's like, I want $32 million. They're going to go, you out of your mind? If he's not worth it. Now, if he's worth it, franchise tagging him and trading him could work out. But it's a risky proposition for the Niners. It isn't any cakewalk. Not to mention the Niners are not usual for using the tag that way.
Yeah, I feel like they're not giving him the credit. Like, I think that helmet catch versus the Lions last year kind of like was the turning point for that game. I feel like he kind of thrust in that direction, and they're really just going to let him fly like that.
Yeah. How do I think John Lynch is going to handle the contract negotiations with Brock Purdy? I don't know. We've heard Jed York, owner, say he's willing to hand a blank check over to Brock Purdy, which was a dumb negotiation tactic to unveil. But it doesn't mean they got to stick to what he said. But it sounds like Brock Purdy is their golden boy. But he's got a whole season to go through before he's going to... You can't just take what he's saying now, Jed York or anybody, and just transfer it over to next offseason. We got to see what Purdy does. What if he gets hurt? What if he looks bad? What if Trent Williams gets injured and can't return to football in week 4 on? What if CMC breaks down? Brock Purdy turns into a pumpkin. He doesn't lose one slipper. He loses both of them if Christian McCaffrey goes down. He turns into a seedless pumpkin. and I'm not trying to knock on him, but this offense is propped up primarily by way of Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey and a lot of Deebo Samuel. But it can survive without Deebo more than it can survive without Christian McCaffrey. You take Christian McCaffrey, the whole thing, he's the glue. The whole thing just falls apart. Brock Purdy wants big rail, I think it is, says $40 million. Bro, no, they're talking $60 million right now. Like if he plays very well, like top 8 quarterback material, and they win, let's say they get back to the NFC Championship and even lose, he's getting $60 million a year. That QB money is, or at least 50. I'm sorry, not 60. I meant 50. Sorry, he's getting $50 million a year. That QB money is going to the 50-55 range for a guy like Brock Purdy. I didn't mean 60. Sorry. 60 mil will be the top of the top. Which honestly, I don't even know. It could be. By then, it could be. We got Tua. We've got Dak's contract. Who knows where it could go? But Purdy's going to get 50 mil if he's playing the same. Now, I don't know that he will, though. I kind of feel like it's 50-50 that he falls apart a little bit, and then he's not getting that kind of money. But if they were to give it now, it's 50. It's 50. Like, Jed York already said, we're resetting the quarterback market with him. So technically speaking, it could be anywhere higher than 50-55. Now, do I think Purdy's worth 40 or below? Yes. I agree with you on that. If he plays badly, he will not get $50 million per year. Okay, anything else?
Here's a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Bruce.
You know how you said that the Cowboys are waiting on Dak and they're going to pay him later? What if they don't pay him, they let him walk, and they have Trey Lance there? What if they just go to Trey Lance?
I mean, there's some people that think like that, but he's so broken, man. He hasn't. It wouldn't put it. Jerry's capable of it, I guess you could say. But if Dak Prescott balls out, Jerry's going to be begging him to come back. But Dak is going to go have dinner and go on dates with other teams. He's no way he's going to blindly stay in Dallas without testing the waters. Not to mention, if let's say Jerry doesn't give him the deal he wants, Dak is going to make him pay for that. If Dak goes back to Dallas, he's going to make him suffer on that. He's going to entertain other offers. He's bringing those offers back to Dallas, and he may or may not say, I'm not giving you a hometown discount, but you're paying me exactly what this team's going to offer me, or I'm gone. And that's if he still wants to stay. There's the idea of leaving for these guys, and you can't blame them. Look at Kirk Cousins. The Vikings continuously tried to move on from Kirk Cousins. They flirted with this idea. They flirted with that idea. They tried to trade up in the draft to get AR5. You can't blame them for wanting to get AR5. But they totally spat on Kirk Cousins over and over and over. So when Kirk had a chance to go test the market, he says, I'm going. And when he went, he got wined and dined. And then, history tells the rest. But Dak Prescott can't be franchise tagged. Dak Prescott can't be traded this year unless he approves the trade, which he would approve, by the way. Like, how the Raiders can save this? Trade for Dak Prescott. If Jerry's not wanting to trade or sign Dak to what Dak wants, then that means Jerry's entertaining life without Dak. And I know he wants to win this year, but that comes at a cost. If you win this year with Dak unsigned, you're screwed. Like you did, it's almost even more painful to, let's say they go to a Super Bowl and you win. Let's say you win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott and you didn't sign him. That's going to be the most painful thing in the world. He's going to go down as the dumbest owner in the history of the NFL that just won a Super Bowl. That he won a Super Bowl and Dak's going, you idiot, I'm out of here. I'm not coming back. You didn't pay me. I just won you a Super Bowl. I am gone. So, like, he's wild. He's wild. He doesn't think like everybody else. If you're the Raiders and you want to save this situation, you go get Dak Prescott. He's got a no trade clause, but who is not going to throw that out the window. Dak would if the Raiders said, here's 60 mil. Here's 60 mil a season. We'll give you 60 mil a season. Here's a massive signing bonus. Here's more guaranteed money than the Dallas Cowboys are offering. We'll give you everything you want. Just waive the no trade clause. And Jerry, who won't sign Dak anyway, maybe he does it. Because he said before, maybe we blow the whole thing up. He's clearly thought about it, which would be stupid. Because you're not going to get a better team than the Dallas Cowboys have right now. Not everybody can be Super Bowl champion. I think that's what some people don't understand. Even the Niners, as much as we rip on Shanahan, this team still made it to the Super Bowl. There's only 2 teams that made it to the Super Bowl last year. It's still a huge accomplishment. Not everybody can win. It is such a tough thing to win a Super Bowl. And the Dallas Cowboys, just because you haven't won, because you haven't supported Dak, Jerry, you didn't bring in Derrick Henry, Jerry. Derrick Henry was waiting by the phone in the kitchen while his mom was stirring a pot of meatloaf stew, just waiting by the phone. Jerry didn't even call. That's on Jerry. Jerry's the reason the Dallas Cowboys can't get over the hump, not Dak. And if you think that you can blow this up and go replace it with a better team, you're not gonna. This is as good as it gets. You either try and tweak the formula to perfection and try to squeeze out a Super Bowl, or you're not going to get it in another avenue.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, anything else, boys? Before I let you go, I'm going to cycle you off the phone line, get some new blood in here. Arrogance, any final thought?
Yeah, just gonna go cook up some meatloaf stew, Smitty.
Do it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Bye. Later, pal. Call in if you got another one. The phone lines are open. I'm not telling you to not call in again. I'm just gonna keep the phone lines moving. During the season, we start to do like this, so I'm getting people ready. Bruce, if you got anything else, call in again too, pal. The phone line's open to you. Okay. Bruce to the moon. $50 holler. You got another question before I kick you? And then again, call in if you got another one. Just dial right back. Any other question?
Yeah, I know we don't like him at all, but what do you think of Deshaun Watson?
I'm torn on whether he can have a rebound type of career. I don't think he ever becomes what he could have become. I think whenever a player, name one player that's left the league to the degree Deshaun Watson left and came back and was the same player, got back on track and continued to grow and become better. He was on his way to being top 5. Like, he was a top 5 QB for a very short period of time. Problem is, he's got a lot of baggage upstairs. He's got a lot of injury risk. He's got a lot of pressure. The organization's got a lot of pressure to stick by him. They have to stick by him. His contract is still ridiculous. They can't get away from it. This guy gets $50 million continuously each year, guaranteed for the remainder of his contract. There's nothing they can do. The only 2 players you could say was Ricky Williams, Michael Vick came back. Even Ridley, we thought maybe this would break the mold of this type of thing, and he didn't quite, bounce back, but we're hopeful he could do it again this year. It just doesn't really happen. Ricky Williams, Vick, the closest things we've ever seen, but they were on top of their game, whereas Watson wasn't. He was getting there. He had a lot of upside and potential, but it wasn't like he was locked into being that guy. I just can't envision it. And I feel like even the contributors around him, like, is Amari Cooper better with Watson? Doesn't feel like he is. So I don't know what Watson gets out of these guys that other QBs don't. I just think that the Cleveland Browns are just a black hole for a while because of this contract that they signed, and they're committed to him. They're committed to him no matter what. Their only hope is to find a Brock Purdy that people can say, I don't care about the contract. We got our guy. And we're going to ride this train for a few years on his rookie deal. It's like, DTR. Is DTR the guy? I mean, we feel like maybe he's got at least a little bit of a shot. They've got a plethora of QBs, but none of them of which have the ability to be Brock Purdy, that rising potential star for their team. It's a shame, bro. It's a real big shame. All right, Brucey, call back when you got another one, pal. Appreciate your $50 holler.
Yep.
All right. Phone lines are open. Dial in.
Call into the show.
Presented
Call into the show
by the Attic.shop. Dial in, dial in, dial in, dial in. Let me see if there's any other news that's popping here. Looks like we might have some stuff. I'm just reading it out here. Since Sean Payton arrived in Denver, the Broncos have dished out a 5-year, $87 million deal to McGlinchey, 4-year, $52 million contract to Ben Powers, a 4-year, $80 million extension to Quinn, and they also saw their starting center leave for a 4-year, $50 million deal. Some people are just talking about this Broncos team and if they can get things popping here, because Quinn got his $80 million extension. So I don't know. I mean, there's a potential that Sean Payton can surprise. I love Bo Nix. I think Sean Payton is a curious case because I didn't like a single thing he has done so far as like implementation on the field. I hated how he used Javonte. I hated how he used his running backs. I hated how he talked about it. I hate how he doesn't tell the truth at a press conference, even by his own admission. He said, "I'm not going to tell you the truth." He said that during a press conference. They were talking about Javonte starting the year on PUP, not starting it on PUP. He goes, "Probably won't, maybe could, and I wouldn't even tell you the truth anyway." And so it's like, I hate that about him. I just can't stand Sean Payton in some ways. And probably the biggest thing was how he treated Russell Wilson when he called Russell Wilson into his office and said, "Take away your injury clause in his contract. This protects the man so he can eat, take money home to his family." And he says, if you don't take away your injury clause, and he was starting to play good too. Russell Wilson was finally starting to play good. Not great, but good. And he calls him in and he says, "Take away your injury clause or we're going to bench you." Corrupt. Illegal to the NFL standards. And the NFL stepped in and said, "You can't do that." And Sean Payton called Russell Wilson back into his office and said, "Remember what we talked about? Never mind. Not allowed to do it. Go ahead and have a nice start." What a scumbag move. So Sean Payton, I lost a lot of respect for him. And so I maybe I'm biased right now against him because I can't stand the way he operates. Can't stand it. Sean Payton, can't stand him. That is a garbage, dirty move by Sean Payton. The only thing I'm thinking here is that Bo Nix saves him. Bo Nix makes him look good. I like Bo Nix a lot. I think the Raiders should have went after Bo Nix like he was the number one quarterback in the draft because they needed to do something, but the Raiders diarrheaed the bed. Bo Nix is special. I like him a lot. I think he's better than Caleb Williams. You heard me. I don't have to repeat myself. I've said this before all offseason long. Bo Nix is ranked higher than Caleb Williams on my evaluation scale. You can think whatever the hell you want. I could care less if you're upset by that. Not my diehards, but you know what I'm talking about. Bo Nix is special in, improving the offensive line's a great start for Bo Nix. Nate, turn down the background noise, bro, or I have to disconnect from you because you.
Oh, my bad.
That's right. What's up, Nate? What can I do for you? You're live.
No, I just heard you talk about. You said Bo Nix is better than Caleb Williams.
Yeah. That piss you off?
Yeah, I highly disagree with that.
No, I know you highly disagree. You're Nate from Chicago. Like you're coming in with goggles this thick, Nate. I have no goggles on at all. I just have sunglasses on. So I'm not bringing any goggles to the table. You have to like Caleb Williams. You have no choice. And you can't tell me that part of you wasn't like, I guess I'm all in, but like, he's a little weird, bro. He is a little weird.
Yeah.
And you could say what everybody else is saying, Nate, that, well, as long as he can throw a football, I don't care if he's weird. That's the only thing you guys ever say in Chicago. Who cares if he throws a good football? Who cares if he cries in his mama's lap if he throws a good football? What?
Bo Nix didn't do anything good in college compared to what Caleb Williams did.
Oh, yeah?
Watch the film, and I think
I did watch the film. Hold on.
Underrated.
Let's pull this up real quick because you're opening your mouth, bro, about something I don't think you can cash the checks that you're writing.
He's a check down machine, man.
He's a check down machine that had enormous stats. And what are you going to do? Tear those down now? How are you going to tear? How are you going to tear these? Hold on. How are you going to tear down these stats? You're just saying. You said this, not me. You're the one that opened this door, bro. 45 touchdowns and 3 INTs last year. You opened this door. You just said that Caleb. What'd you say? Repeat it. He didn't do. What did he say? Did you say you didn't do nothing or whatever in college or whatever you said?
No, I said Bo Nix. Like if you watch the film,
you watch the film. When I watch the film, I see 4,500 yards and 45 passing touchdowns. What in the hell are you talking about?
Watch the film though. It's all a check down.
Bro. No offense, but do you not think that I don't care, okay? Because I really doesn't bother me. But do you think it's not a underhanded way of saying to me, you don't think I know what the hell I'm talking about? Watch the film. Do you think I don't watch the film more than anyone you've ever run into in your entire life? Of course I watch the film, bro. What kind of comment is that? I watch more film than you can imagine. I've gone through everything. That's why I don't like Caleb. I've watched the film.
I think you just don't like Caleb because what he does.
No,
I think that's like kind of.
No, I think this is where
mixing your emotions.
This is no. I think you think that. I do think you think that, but you're a Chicago Bear fan. This is the only move you have. You have to come in and argue this. But bro, I make just because I'm overly passionate and continue to beat a dead horse, people mistaken that for me being biased, but it's me sticking to my guns on my prediction and what I'm saying. Because when I watch, like, it's so weird that you're saying that Bo Nix didn't do anything compared to Caleb in college. Caleb got owned by good defenses, bro. And then your next excuse.
No line. I don't know about that.
Now you got an excuse. Okay, what is it? The O-line. He didn't have the support. So how did Bo Nix do nothing compared to Caleb in college when he blew his stats out of the water? And you have a bunch of horrible play against good defenses. Explain to me, how did Caleb do better than Bo Nix in college? Explain it, because I just told you he got owned by good defenses. So explain it.
I mean, well, I just think like when you translate it to the NFL compared to college, it's two different things.
I'm hearing a bunch of gibberish, bro. You're not explaining how Caleb outplayed Bo Nix in college.
Okay, no, college is probably the stats are there. Yeah, they're touchdown.
So they are there. Okay, so we're gonna walk this one back and say, okay, Bo Nix did actually outperform in college statistically. Okay, so now
you have to go back to the previous year where Caleb won Heisman. You gotta look at those numbers.
Okay, we have looked at them.
He kind of had an off year last year, but I think it's a dual threat. It's really underrated.
We got
compared to Bo Nix. Bo Nix can't run the ball.
3,500 yards. Bo Nix can't run the ball.
No, I don't think so. Not compared to, maybe you can a little, but not compared to Williams. Like,
you're walking everything back.
It's not even close.
You're walking everything back, bro. You're continuously walking you say something. Then you walk it back. Like you can't be so absolute with these things, bro. Because I'm gonna call you out on it. Okay, Bo Nix doesn't run the ball well. What about a 14 touchdown season? Does that tickle your fancy? That was 2022. What about that's 510 yards and 14 touchdowns? 510 yards, bro. You're taking L's on this call.
No, I just think I don't know. I think that it's just I don't think Nick.
I don't think you're thinking about it at all.
He would have won first. He would have won first overall.
I don't think you're thinking about it at all. No, bro. You are very confused right now. The reason he didn't go first overall is because the Chicago Bears had the pick. JD5 would have went number 1 overall. JD5 is better than Bo Nix. Just because Bo Nix is blowing Caleb. Just because Bo Nix is blowing Caleb out of the water in this conversation. Everything you said, none of it has convinced a single soul watching right now. Bo Nix has blown Caleb Williams out of the water. Doesn't mean JD5 isn't better than both of them. You're confusing a lot of different things. Number two, the reason Caleb went number one is because the Bears drafted number one, and they're the only team that probably would have did that at that point, bro. JD5 was flipping. Everybody was flipping and going JD5. JD5 is going to the moon, bro. JD5 is a top 5 QB.
All right, well, I'll call back in the middle of the season.
You can do that. I doubt you will, though. I'll be honest. I don't think. You say that. Everybody says that. They won't. You said a couple things right here and gone different directions, bro. You said that Bo Nix can't run the ball. He ran 510 yards and 14 touchdowns in 2022. What kind of comment is that? Bo Nix can't run the ball.
I mean, you have the stats though right now. Obviously, I can't. I'm not going to pull up the stats on my own. But,
I don't need to. He had 43 total touchdowns in 2022.
Let's compare it to Caleb then.
43 total touchdowns. Compared to Caleb?
Yeah,
I'll pull up Caleb.
Yeah, pull it up.
I'll pull up Caleb's stats. And no one's saying Caleb didn't have a good year in 2023 or 2022, but he looked like like dog water last year. And he folded against good defenses, and folded after the game when he cried in his mama's lap in the fetal position.
It just looks different because off the field he's a completely different player. But he made Marvin Mims look amazing in that one game. That was the best receiver he's probably ever had. Okay. And Marvin Mims is like a special teams player at best.
So here's Caleb's stats. He had a great 2022. He had 4,500 yards, 42 touchdowns. He's always been good in terms of the INT touchdown ratio. There's nothing wrong with that. Caleb Williams had a good year. No one's saying he didn't in 2022. But you came in and seemed shocked that I like Bo Nix more. You came in and said, look at the film. You came in and said Bo Nix can't run the ball. You came in and acted like Bo Nix couldn't compare or compete in the statistical categories when he blew him out of the water. He had 40-plus touchdowns in 2023, specifically 43 touchdowns, and he also had 51 touchdowns last year. Bo Nix has had more touchdowns than Caleb in the last 2 seasons by a country mile. By a country mile.
I guess I'm surprised.
Yeah, I could tell you were surprised because you're coming from a certain angle, bro. Like I get where you look. Let me just say this: I understand you. Okay, you have nowhere else to go. How are you going to come in and doubt this kid? You've been through enough, bro. You've watched your team misuse and mismanage and miscoach and not support Justin Fields. You wanted Fields probably initially. Am I right? You wanted to keep Fields and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. At least tell me I'm telling the truth here.
Nah.
No?
I didn't want to keep Fields.
You wanted Caleb the entire time. You sure you want to put that receipt out there now?
Just because I think he'll be just as good, and you'll have that rookie contract.
About half your fan base would disagree with you. About half the fan base was irate that you were not keeping Fields and drafting, and they wanted you to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. But once
we both know that Fields can't throw the ball.
No, I disagree with you. I disagree with you. Fields is very capable. He wasn't supported. Fields had a skeleton crew in 2022, bro, when your GM ripped all the meat off the bone and sent him out there with janitors to catch the football. You didn't have a single well-known wide receiver pulling in the football. And this guy went out and had I think it was 6 or 7 INTs that year and scrambled for well over 1,000 yards. It was 11 something. Fields did everything by himself and got injured at the end of the year, which is what we were afraid of. Your GM pulled an absolute reckless move by stripping all the meat off the bone and sending Fields out there to fend for himself. Then you decide to support Caleb when you didn't support Fields and surround him by all this talent. It's disgraceful. And I think 50% of the fan base wanted Fields and MHJ, and to support Fields properly, give him this kind of treatment you're giving Caleb, and it didn't happen. So the remaining 50% jumped on board, and I can't blame them because they want it to come true. They want the pain to end. But you bring in Shane Waldron, notorious for running 2 wide receiver sets, very mundane, very lukewarm type of offensive coordinator. He comes over to be the savior of this situation. You guys have mismanaged QBs, haven't coached them up, haven't supported them, haven't developed them, drafted the wrong ones for years. And you pass on C.J. Stroud, and everybody calls Poles a genius because of a trade that ended up having this team pass on C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, that was bad. But I think that the next year we got 2 seconds. Still got our first, I think Williams.
Look, Nate, this is the wrong convo to have with me. I appreciate you, but Bo Nix is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. That's my opinion. You can bring whatever opinion you have to the table. Any Bears fan's going to laugh at that, but just like a Niner fan's going to laugh at me saying that Jalen Hurts is better than Brock Purdy. They can't get over that either. They get a big belly laugh out of that. They have no idea Brock Purdy's not a top 5 QB. So I have this conversation with fan bases all the time. I understand you. I don't blame you. You have nowhere else to go but to believe in Caleb Williams.
I'm trapped, bro. I'm trapped.
You're trapped. That's right. I'll be here for you.
I agree with everything you say, though, besides this. So
all right. All right. Thank you, Nate. Later. Bruce, you're live.
Hey, Smitty, I did think of one once you brought up Sean Payton. What do you think of Javonte Williams this year? Is he worth a pick, or is he just like, nah, let him go?
Bro, I have no idea what's in store for Javonte because I don't trust the man that won't tell us the truth. He won't tell us a single bit of truth. He's even admitted that. So, therefore, how can we trust him? $50 million for Purdy. They will be very disappointed, says Wild Bill. Wild Bill, thank you for that super chat. Rockout says, check DMs. I'm going to go for it 1 second. Calvin Krim with a $2 holler says, just started a draft with McCaffrey, Achane, and Kyron. I love it. I do the RB, and triple RB all the time, and it makes people so mad in the best ball community. Smitty, how can you have a show when you will tell people to go RB when they have no idea? The winner of the 2023 best ball mania was running back. People just don't know what the hell they're talking about, bro. Ryan with a $10 holler moonshot to my boy Ryan. Appreciate you, Ryan. Hold on 1 second. I'm coming back for you, Bruce. Hang tight. I have the 11th overall in a 12-team 0.5 PPR snake draft, about to maybe trade my third and fourth for another second. Third and fourth for another second and a fifth. He has the 10 pick. I'd have to see where these picks fall, but in general, if it's a big move from the third up to the second, then I'm fine moving the fourth to the fifth. That's like an even Steven trade, and you're getting the higher pick. However, it does depend on who you think you can get in 5 and who you think you can get at the second pick. The third round is glorious. If I can get Kyron Williams in the third round, I'm taking that. But if I can get Kyron Williams with the second round or Achane with the second, and I won't get him with the third, I want the second round pick, Ryan. So I tend to say, give me the fifth rounder as still a Kincaid or a McBride or a Pacheco falls, Jacobs falls. Sometimes that's still a glorious pick in round 5. So if it means the difference between Achane or Kyron and not getting them, then yeah. If you're going to end up drafting Nico or someone like that, don't waste this trade and draft a wide receiver that belongs in round 3 because you're scared to death the wide receivers are getting scooped up by these wide receiver goblins out there in fantasy football drafts. Appreciate you. Brucey, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What do you think of Javonte Williams this year?
I'm not banking on him, bro. I can't trust Sean Payton. I just can't do it. I want to believe in Javonte. We love Javonte. It is what it is. I've kind of moved on at this point. I'll keep an open mind. If we start seeing signs of life, I'll be the first person to jump back on the train. I'll be a little disappointed in myself for not doubling down on it. But at this stage in the game, bro, I just can't trust Sean Payton. And they drafted Estime, another running back, and they've talked about him being fully capable workhorse. It's the kind of stuff you want to hear. I love Javonte. I hope he gets. There's talk about him not even making the team, which I don't know that I believe, but if it's true, let's get him on another squad. Let's get him in Dallas. Maybe Javonte in Dallas revives his career. Bruce, here's a drop from Kyle. Rock out. Let's see what he has.
Okay. Aiyuk is trying to get paid. Give him the money, he will deliver. He's straight baller, shot in the collar. He been trying to get it on, trying to go score a touchdown and in your lineup. So get it done. Let's get a trade. Let's get it on. It's Brandon Aiyuk.
Shot in the collar. I like it. Rock out. Thank you. Rock out to the moon. $2 holler as well. What else you got there, Brucey? I'm not buying into Javonte. There's too many other players to draft, bro. Trey Benson. Give me Trey Benson over Javonte. Give me Zamir White. Give me God, there's so many RBs that we could grab instead of Javonte. You know, I love Javonte. I'll be rooting for him. I'll be cheering for him, but I want him on a different squad. My guy.
And here's one I got. If the Bills draft or trade for another receiver, what does that do to Dalton Kincaid?
Not a ton. I think Dalton Kincaid's very protected into a whole lot of compartmentalized production that is going to be designed for him. Safety net, wide receivers stretching the field, might even help him on occasion. I think it's easy to say, oh, there's more mouths to feed, but let's not forget that the Bills are down to nothing until Keon proves himself, and I believe he will. So adding somebody to the mix is like putting them on par with other teams that don't have a gunslinger to the tune of Josh Allen. So if McBride and MHJ can survive, if St. Brown, Gibbs, Laporta, Jamison Williams can survive, if you've got Diggs and Tank Dell and Nico and Schultz. I mean, think about all these other teams that have way more talent to divide up the workload. This team has nothing. They get Aiyuk. They have Aiyuk, Keon Coleman, and Kincaid. It's still lesser than a lot of other teams that are doing it and spreading the ball out just fine. Kelsey, Rashee Rice, and all that they got going on at Hollywood. I mean, look, Josh Allen can throw enough that they're fine. Not to mention it probably would stunt the growth of Keon Coleman a little bit, and then Aiyuk would just take a big surplus of the workload, and Kincaid still balls out. It might help him, but it's certainly not going to hurt him.
And do you think...
All right, you think about it real quick. Think about it real quick while I read the rest of this. Planet is Gibbs in round 1, then wide receiver plus Achane in the second. Okay, so sorry I didn't complete reading that. Then I like it. I think Kyren or Achane in 2, if you can't get that in 3. And honestly, outside of best ball, it's a lot harder to get Achane or Kyren in 3. It doesn't happen as frequently. It definitely does happen. I've seen it already, but it is less frequent. People are a little bit more running back hungry, as they should be in non-best ball environments. So if this guarantees you in your mind Achane or Kyren, I'm doing the trade, Ryan. I'm sorry I didn't see the second part of that. But I love the idea of Gibbs. Don't be afraid of running back. In non-best ball, I'm going running back even more than in best ball, but I'm not afraid to be the lone wolf running back, best ball content creator. It's not like I'm doing it every time. I'm a best player available guy. Anybody that knows me says, hey, Smitty doesn't want you to go RB. He wants you to go best player available. But this shortage of wide receivers that everybody keeps gravitating toward, borrowing third-round wide receivers and drafting them in round 2 because everybody's consuming the hell out of them, it makes running back, best player available 9 times out of 10. That's how I can talk to it without breaking my own rule of going best player available. Rock Out, you're live. And then over to Brucey again. Rock Out, what's up? 5 gifted memberships by Kilpatrick, dropping fire on the channel. Kilpatrick to the mother freaking moon. Go ahead, Rock Out.
So there's no crying in football?
I mean, there is. There is crying in football. Kilpatrick, thanks again, pal. Kilpatrick's the man. There is crying in football. In college football, you can climb on your mama's lap, cry like a baby, and then get drafted number 1 overall and have people defend you left and right. And there's nothing wrong with crying. Even you lose a dog or, someone, like something happens. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with crying. Even if you win a Super Bowl, you got tears in your eyes. But as a leader of a team and you lose a game and you climb into the stands and you get in the fetal position, your mama takes the program from the football game, covers your face, protects you from anybody seeing you crying, and you're just shaking, shimmering and just crying in her lap after you lost a game. Again, understand what I'm saying. Crying is okay. I'm not saying that a grown man can't cry. I'm not saying you shouldn't have emotions. I watch MD Motivator and also Jimmy Darts and a couple of the other guys they give to the homeless, and they go up to some homeless guy, give him $500, and then they raise $10,000 for him. It changes his life. You don't think I got a tear in my eye when I'm watching that thing? I'm a human being. There's nothing wrong with being emotional. There's nothing wrong with crying. Your kid's born, you cry. Your dog's sick, you cry. It's all okay. Please understand what I'm saying. But when you're field general, as you lose the game, in that moment, while everybody's looking for the quarterback to walk off the field in solidarity, to go in the locker room and have a conversation, he runs into his mama, crawls into her lap, and cries like a baby, moving around. It's not the same thing. Stop trying to say crying's okay. Aiyuk cried during the Super Bowl. He cried. Jordan cried holding the trophy. Everybody wants to act like I'm saying something I'm not. If I'm going to war and my general, or my Lieutenant Dan. I'm looking at Lieutenant Dan. We're going over the foxhole, and we're going straight for the gold. And this is a nerve-wracking situation. And we're doing it. We're really climbing out of the foxhole. We're going into enemy territory. I'm following Lieutenant Dan, and he goes, hold on 1 second. His mom comes up, and he goes in her lap and starts crying in the fetal position. I'm not going with them to the foxhole, or out of the foxhole. I'm staying put. We're finding a new leader. That's all I'm saying. And I think that a rational person understands what I'm saying. And other players in the NFL have said the same damn thing. I can't follow that man into war. It's a whole different ball game.
It wasn't even a playoff game either. It was a regular season game.
Yeah, and then when they asked him after another game, I think it was a different game, they said, how do you feel? And he was standing up and he leaned into the podium, how do you feel? And he wasn't feeling good after the loss. He leans in, he goes, I just want to go home and crawl into bed and cuddle with my dog. And everyone's like, what? I'm not saying you can't do that, but what are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? You're supposed to be the Lieutenant Dan of this crew, and you're not. You're not living up to the hype. Let me go back over to Brucey. Brucey, what's up?
I remember now. What happens? I don't know if it happened. What happens if Rashee Rice is suspended? Does that move Hollywood Brown's stock up?
Of course it does.
Or is it already?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, Hollywood's already a little bit on the rise right now because the rapport is there. But Rashee Rice could certainly be a problem for consistency. But yeah, bro, if Rashee Rice is out half a year, especially if it's the first half of the year, which I don't know that it will be, we have no real indication. And this is not up to the league. I know a lot of people say, I think the league, somebody said it in the comments the other day, or maybe it was today, that said, I think it was the other day. It was when Addison was caught drinking and driving behind the wheels, allegedly. He was fell asleep behind his Rolls Royce, behind the wheel on the freeway. And everyone's like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Someone in the chat, and I'm not trying to call that person out. It's a logical comment. But they said, I think this will help lessen the punishment for Rashee Rice. And that's not how it works. Texas is coming down hardcore on a guy that got in a collision, a 6-car pileup, and he abandoned the scene and ran away like a coward. All of his entourage, they ran off the freeway like cowards and left injured people in the car, and thank God they were not injured badly. They were injured enough that there's civil lawsuits and there's a whole lot going on. But this is a whole different ball game. They were drag racing, caused a 6-car pileup, millions of dollars in damage, and ran away like cowards. This is nothing to do with falling behind the wheel, asleep drunk, and you get a DUI. No, he could have hurt someone too. I'm not saying that he couldn't have, but he escaped a majority of what could have happened to him had he crashed into somebody and hurt them. This other situation, he did crash and ran away, a lot of people think, and it's good speculative guesswork. No one has facts on this. It's all educated guesswork, opinion. But why would you run from the scene after you're coming from a restaurant /bar/club celebrating, and you race away, crash, and run away from the scene. Gee, I wonder why. I know where my mind goes to that. So, he lucked out in terms of facing what he's facing, but Rashee Rice is going to get, massive punishment by the NFL. It's all going to be potentially mandatory, too, because when you plead guilty to a severe offense to a certain degree, it's an automatic year suspension or a certain amount of game suspension. And he's got so many counts against him that haven't even been totaled yet, because the leaving the scene is said to be, by somebody I trust very close to the situation, leaving the scene is going to be added later, and they're going to pile on as much as they can at the end, because that's going to be what makes the defense say, look, bro, you better just plea out and sign this plea to these three major pleas, these major charges that are going to trigger a year-long suspension, but that will avoid jail time. You want to avoid jail time? Don't worry about missing games. Worry about missing jail or prison. So I think Hollywood to the moon if that happens. All right. Anything else, Broskies? We'll be back to do a live stream, so I'm probably going to jump right now. Bruce, you got anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Bruce, appreciate the $50 holler. Call back in tonight. Marsman, rock out. You got anything else? Appreciate your super chat. Appreciate your rap. Anything else?
No, I'm good right now.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Rock out to the moon. Appreciate you both. Thomas with a $2 holler. Trade Kincaid for Aiyuk and Dynasty. No way, Jose. You also have Laporta. Damn it. I'd go after a different player. I like Aiyuk, but this isn't the trade for me. Even if I had to wait to let the value go up a little bit, there's other players you can get, my guy, that are just a little bit safer than Aiyuk. I don't know. Then again, it's like the cost of entry on Aiyuk is higher than Kincaid. I don't know. What do you guys think, chat? Kincaid? I mean, you're drafting in a startup. You're drafting Aiyuk ahead of Kincaid. So, I mean, it makes sense from a allocation of resources perspective at the end of the day. But good God, I don't want to trade Kincaid. If it's a premium, hell no. If it's not a premium, it's a pretty even trade. I just think I want a different receiver. I like Aiyuk a lot, but this is kind of a messy situation. He's kind of in holdout mode. The injury risk is going to be high if he doesn't get something done soon, whether it's a new contract, whether it's show up and just at least get ready and play on his fifth-year option, or get traded. So the odds of injury are high. I'm going to go get some other player. There's other players that I want more than Brandon Aiyuk for Dalton Kincaid. Tough to say. You could even explore trading Laporta because you could get massive return on it. I'm not saying do it, but Kincaid, Laporta, Kincaid, I would shop both and see what trade makes your team better. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not about, Laporta's untouchable. Which player can give you almost an impossible to turn down trade? That's what I would do. I'd open the door to both and just have an exploratory conversation about getting rid of both of them and see what happens. Appreciate you all. I'll see you tonight. Don't forget, we'll be drafting on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. Here's the link to that so you can all jump in. Make sure you're hitting this link now. Make sure you're signing up in advance. I'll pin the link in the live chat. This will get you signed up on Underdog. It's a $10 minimum. They'll give you 50% on your first deposit match in your account. So you do a $10 minimum, they give you $5. You do 100, they give you 50. You do 500, they give you 250, all the way up to 250. But the minimum is $10. But we'll be drafting tonight. I pinned the link in the live chat. We'll be drafting. I need to see all of you there. Please click the link and sign up in advance so you're ready to go, because what we're going to do is say, okay, everybody open up their app using code Smitty. Open up your app. You already did the 2 minutes of signing up using the code, using the link. The link inserts code Smitty for you. The link's in the description of the video in case you're watching a replay, and it's pinned in the live chat. You sign up and get ready. Then when we go live tonight, I say open the app, which you've already downloaded. You've used code Smitty, and then I say jump into the second card, puppy, fast puppy, whatever. And we jump in together, and boom, it's that easy. I will see you all later. Thomas, appreciate you and your super chat. We had gifted memberships from Kilpatrick, 5 from Kilpatrick, celebratory messages. We had Kilpatrick says Smitty's the GOAT with his 24 membership. Welcome to the Saturn emoji club, bro. Kilpatrick, 24 months. That means you got a Saturn emoji next to your name. One of the very few. My super chat people. Thomas, Ryan with the $10 hauler and the 2. Calvin Krim, Rock Out, Sick, Nasty, appreciate you. Sean with the $20 hauler. Bruce with the $50 bull prediction. Kilpatrick with a 5. Superfish with a 5. And Ain't That Devin with the $2 hauler. Appreciate all of you. I'll be back tonight. Thank you all. Appreciate you so much. I work for you.
He's Kyron. He's 7 feet tall. And he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyron. He can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
Hey Chan. Hey Chan is the man. His haters call him small.
But he is 9 feet tall.
Hey Chan!
Chan is the man.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Live also, additionally, whenever big news breaks like we did today with Brandon Aiyuk. Also live most midnights to draft or have discussions. It's not just drafting, it's strategy, it's breaking news, it's implementation of a draft approach, it's all kinds of stuff. We don't just draft, that's boring. We do drafting plus content, taking phone calls, etc. All right, I'll see you all later. Appreciate every single one of you. Attention, would all the RB monsters please report to the principal's office? Please report to the principal's office. You rebels are causing a lot of problems. Going RB. It's not what you're supposed to do. You're going against the rules. You're going against the rules.